Hello and welcome to the Squeaky Bum Time podcast with Michael Laurent. It is Monday, November 28th or 29th, depending on where you live. In this episode, we will preview for all the Americans, and that's all that matters, the massive winner-take-all USA-Iran game and review the halfway point of this World Cup and the following round two fixtures. But first, Mike, in your most ultra-nationalist jingo fever dream that has awoken, how did you participate in the War of 1812 that was England 0, USA 0? How did you feel?
I got to witness it at the football bar down here in Orlando in downtown, and I got to tell you, it was primarily English at the bar.
That makes sense.
As you know, the American Outlaws, and I have had no problem calling them out on a number of things before. They've had a tough few years. Nobody cared about this team realistically. The Orlando chapter stinks. There was no organization, and they basically had their own bar taken over. But some of the old heads were there, and some of laying down the law. So it was so fun rattling England fans because it's so easy. I actually didn't expect that. I should have. But having them sing "It's Coming Home" and just changing it to "You're Going Home." Oh my goodness, they hated that. It's all that you have. It's all that you have. This stupid sport. It's all that you have.
So it really like sadly is at this point.
Yeah, it is. It's the only thing this country has. So I got to have some fun. Every time Harry Maguire got the ball, I go, "Don't fuck it up." So
he was bad.
I made a bunch of red, white, and blue friends, and not so many rooting for the Queen's Army here. But the
King's Army.
Yeah, well, I thought it was a really, really enjoyable match in the sense that any 0-0 could be. Listen, there was one chance early where Kane had a shot blocked, I believe, by Tyler Adams. Other than that, I would say the chances all fell to the Americans. Pulisic crushing the bar. I thought all the proper chances really fell to the U.S. Certainly happy with the draw. The interesting thing was that I woke up, taking the Wales-Iran match, which was earlier in the day, for granted. I thought that Wales would win or draw, and they lost in spectacular fashion.
Badly.
We'll get to that in a bit. But so that kind of took a lot of the sting out of the U.S.-England game because realistically speaking, the U.S. could afford to lose 5-0 as long as they beat Iran tomorrow. We'll get into that game as well. But so it was weird. I went from a lot of my excitement was anxiety fueled. And once that went away, I was like, "Oh, okay, let's just get drunk and talk shit to English people," which I did.
I think the key pieces are for the U.S. Let's just sort of break it down. U.S. perspective. This is a great result. This is an arrival. This is hey, Berhalter's not a bum as much as Manny hates him. This is a big result. A draw against England is like we're undefeated in World Cup against England. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And
it's weird. Like I said, though, it's weird that it's a moral victory now because if Wales had drawn or won, then that's actually like a massive, massive result that they would have been playing for and maybe not even necessarily achieved. I think the fact that they didn't have that, like I said, they didn't have to win or lose or draw. They got to play carefree, and that showed. Right, and I mean, England.
But the performance-wise, this is good. It's a good building block for the U.S. Like Manny was talking about in our chat, we've sort of have this great chat. Please let us know. We'll put it in the description. Well, I can't. Join the Facebook group, and I'll send you the WhatsApp chat. It's a good group of guys. We're talking football. It's a good group. And, between all the guys, there's a constant attack on Berhalter. Does he not know what he's doing? Does he not know what he's doing? At this point, it doesn't matter. That game, England-USA, in the World Cup, 0-0, that's it. He's in. He's the coach in 26. He doesn't have to do anything.
I don't. If Jesse Marsh is available, you go get Jesse Marsh.
I don't think that will. Anyway, that's just my thought.
Sure.
Hand to heart. Like they played hard. The team fights. They have taken on, and what I think is really interesting, they have taken on the personality of Adams and moved away from kind of the Pulisic-led team. Pulisic is an introvert. He's fired up, and to get to the level that he's at, he has to be where he is. But he's not a rah-rah guy. Adams is in there, making tackles, filling gaps. I mean, I said it earlier on, and I really didn't know until I watched him more. He literally is an N'Golo Kante level player for this U.S. team. He fills all the gaps. He stops all the problems. I mean, there were times where England was going down the wing, and Tyler Adams is out there playing fullback because the fullback got lost somewhere. You're like, oh, they're on the break and he's fullback, or they're on the break and he's stepped in front of the defense because Tim Ream got lost somewhere because he got there. He's incredible.
He's been a tremendous eraser for the U.S. team.
And he's made leads. He's made leads. What, 50 million pounds?
Yes. What I would say is, in U.S. men's national team terms, going back in the past a little bit, in the earlier part of his career, very Michael Bradley-esque. He's a significant step up from Bradley, even at Bradley's
Much
best,
better than Bradley,
who fell off dramatically. But he has that command the field. Yes. The Englishness that we call it, ironically, right?
It's there. Yeah.
So he has that trait, and he's been unbelievable. McKinney has
McKinney
had a sliding scale. He's been good. But Adams has been the engine.
I think McKinney is still recovering. Like, he can't play full matches, so they're doing that McKinney-Aronson thing. But I thought the team was good. You know, USA has nothing to complain about aside from, you know, maybe Berhalter's making mistakes. Maybe he's not making changes early enough. Maybe he's too passive, respecting England too much. But you want to talk about respect. I mean, on the England side, this is a catastrophe. Again, like, they have players of a top Premier League quality and have a coach from a team, a championship level coach who's not getting promoted. I'm saying he's middle of the pack championship level. I mean, they basically have Steve Bruce as their manager. You know, it's like, you know, having, you know, Fred Flintstone drive a Ferrari. It's like, Southgate is bad. Like, what are you doing? Take the handbrake off. This is the U.S. We're not that good. No one can score. Like, go get us. We're there for the taking.
You know, it was interesting because we were giving them all the space in behind the fullbacks pretty much the entire first half. They only took it 2 or 3 times. It was there every single time England got the ball past midfield.
So why is Harry Kane defending deep all the time?
Well, it's because what he does. Like, he's everywhere. He's your best player all over the field. But
he's there. That means he's not, like, don't be so afraid. I don't understand.
He actually, on set pieces, he likes to get tracked back and make sure that he's actually a good defender for what it's worth.
I understand, but you're not going to score goals from there.
Right, but
you have to go across the field.
But in that moment, in a 3-game tournament, your first, realistically speaking, your +4 on goal difference. A draw is on paper, in the back pages, it's a bad result for England. It's not because they have 4 points. The U.S. has 2, and Iran is on 3. So
I'm not really good with the brackets of where they go. All I just keep thinking about is, if England plays Spain, they're going to get blown the doors.
No, they're not. They're not. We did this. It's 1A and 2B and 1B and 2A, and then it goes back basically. You know.
Oh, I don't remember. I don't know who they have to get. Who's their potential next opponents then?
In the Netherlands or Senegal, basically, I believe.
They could beat the Netherlands. The Senegalese are too unpredictable.
Well, Netherlands and Ecuador currently are both on 4 points right now.
So they'll lose to Ecuador. Ecuador will beat them.
No, they won't. And so those are your 2 to 3 targets, depending obviously on where you finish and where they finish. But yeah, I mean, you know, you go into the final day and England is taking on a despondent Wales team after taking a not in the face game from Iran, who shocked everyone with all 3 points. Although, you know, once you saw that Wayne Hennessy took the red, you're like, yeah, there might be enough time for this to happen. And lo and behold,
especially the way we're getting these time added on thing. They gave
and that's
up
what happened.
All
it was the 98th minute.
Yeah. All right, let us go from where we left off. I'll run through the scores and sort of give a quick commentary because we can't cover all the games because they're just too many. The Socceroos defeat Tunisia in Group D on Saturday. Poland defeats Saudi Arabia. Our man Lewandowski gets his goal. It was given to him. Saudi Arabia, really great fans. They're actually been one of the better teams in this group. France defeat Denmark. France 7. Easy go. This is an Mbappe game. Great stuff from him. Then Argentina, who looked dead and buried for the draw. Mexico disappoint. Messi comes through, then another good goal. This is a narrative builder for Argentina. They get off the schneid. They're in good shape. Then another shock on yesterday in Group E. Costa Rica defeat Japan. Japan, you had Germany. You had the Germany win, and then you lose to Costa Rica, who didn't put a shot off against Spain. Morocco, oh God, defeat Belgium. Belgium in complete disarray. Vertonghen fighting with KDB. KDB saying the defense is too old and we were good in 2018. And then Vertonghen shooting back saying, well, where was the offense in this one? Anyway, that team's in turmoil. Croatia say, fuck us, fuck you, and defeat Canada 4-1 after Canada take the lead 1-0. My beloved Canada go out. They looked good. They just are not ready. They took it in the face and didn't recover. And then the game of the tournament, if you're talking about class, players, attack, and narrative, Spain won, Germany won. Fulkrug, classic name, classic striker, a guy who has more appearances in Bundesliga 2 than the Bundesliga, only in the World Cup because of injury, comes up big off the bench, takes it off Musiala's foot, fires Germany home. Great game, fun game. Today's game was all about scores. Cameroon 3, Serbia 3. Dan Sormaz and all the Serbians that I know do feel pain because Serbia was up 3-1 in this game. Maxim Choupo-Moting with the leveler. Oh, just like to say Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting because it's the greatest name in all of sports. And then we've got 3-2 Ghana over South Korea.
This game was really crazy. I mean, you had South Korea score 2 goals within, I think, 4 minutes. By the time I went and took the dog and brought him back in, it was 2-0 Ghana. I came back, it was 3-2 Ghana, which was pretty wild.
And then South Korea laid siege to Ghana's goal. And I want to say, and I mean the last 15, 20 minutes of this game is they just couldn't find that creative spark. Ghana stood strong, but there were some chances. It was breathless stuff. And I believe South Korea are probably in trouble. Sonny crying, and then someone takes a selfie with him, which is pretty fucked up. Brazil get past Switzerland on a killer goal by Casemiro. And then we all watched and chatted up Portugal, Uruguay. We all had our eye on this one. It felt evenly matched. Ronaldo's hair might have gotten a goal, but it's given to Fernandez. And then on the worst penalty call of just VAR death hole, I don't remember who it was, but the ball basically in the box, player falling down, hand behind his back, touches the ball. They go to VAR and call it a penalty. It's just brutal. I don't know what the guy was supposed to do. I believe Dimas said he's supposed to land on his ass and take it in the cock. Accurate. So that's where we are. We're literally halfway through the World Cup. Only 2 teams have been eliminated. My beloved Canada and Qatar. Some teams are going to need a lot of help, some less than others. And then we go into tomorrow. Big games, not just, and then they start to be played simultaneously because they're the last games in the group so that we don't have, the reason that exists is there was a famous game, I believe, I want to go 1982, where there was some real shenanigans of teams playing for draws to help each other out. Yeah. I think that's the World Cup where they changed this.
And it's like Championship Sunday in the Premier League. Like all the games are played simultaneously. Just within the group, not all the games. I understand. Awesome. But yes, all of the games in a particular competition realistically is what you can say every one of these groups is. Yeah. So you're going to have 2 time slots instead of 4 going forward,
which is nice.
That's fine. But yeah, you've got a lot of groups that are going to be decided. And we talked about it earlier a few shows ago where, speaking to the U.S., having Iran last, they're likely going to have to win that game to survive. And here we are. And Netherlands playing Qatar has a huge advantage. You just mentioned that they're eliminated. The Netherlands is on 4 points with 2 goal difference. Ecuador and Senegal have to play each other. That's a playing game. So,
Ecuador has been fantastic and probably should have beat the Netherlands. They're playing with energy. They're playing with my friends from Brighton, Estupan and Casiero, really driving that team forward. They know who they are. They know how to play. I'm really excited. I think Ecuador-Senegal is probably an underrated good game. Senegal, remember, CAF champions. If they go out, this is a real loss. This is
Yeah.
a bad result. I don't think either of us had Ecuador really being the leader in the group, but they've shown me in this tournament that they are the real deal. And I should have known 2 Graham Potter coached players would, of course, be blowing up.
Well, let's slow down a little bit because then, like I said, Netherlands has Qatar, and they're going to get into a situation where they're going to be able to probably put up 2, 3, maybe even more goals. Whereas Ecuador and Senegal are probably going to be in a knife fight. Ecuador, for what it's worth, does not have to win that game. They just have to draw and they survive. Now, if they win and they get a favorable result on goal difference, they could top the group, which would be a coup for them. But at the same time, their focus primarily is to advance. So they are going to be, I would suggest, and I don't know this, but a lot of teams are going to be in a situation where they're reading the group, not the game, right?
Yeah, and Ecuador, to be fair, are a really good defensive team. They don't give up goals. They don't score many, but they will shut this game down.
Yeah, and so think of it kind of like the second leg of Champions League knockout stages where, your club is up 1-0 on aggregate, and, all you have to do is not lose, right? Or not lose by 2. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that in play here. You'll see it pretty much in every group, I think, going looking at this, right? Like, I mean, France is through, but whoever finishes in second, that's going to be an interesting one. We'll get to that in a bit. But
Denmark, they have to beat Australia. I mean,
I know, but right, and so that's what it comes down to is who has the easiest game left, and a lot of times that is the advantage. And so the interesting thing going to Group B is that there is no easy game because Wales, for all intents and purposes, are pretty much done having to play England, and Iran and the U.S. If there is a winner in that game, then they're going through.
Right.
If Iran ties, then they'll need help from England. But if the U.S. wins, then they are.
What happens in a U.S. draw? We're through or we're out?
Nope, we're done. We're done. We need to go in and beat Iran. Which, by the way, and I'll say this right now, and I don't think it's a particularly hot take. If you cannot beat Iran in the last state, when you need a win, not just like to start the World Cup, you go into this game going, we need all 3 points. You do not get to go to the World Cup.
Yeah,
you do not get to go to the round of 16, I should say.
The issue with the U.S. right now and with a lot of teams, I think, is clear. We can go in more detail on this game, and then we'll talk about Wales and stuff. The issue with the U.S., and I think that no one would argue this, is we don't have reliable goal scoring.
No.
I think that buildup is strong. The spirit is strong. I think the Ream Zimmerman defense has been really good. I think Jedi has been good. I think Turner has been fantastic. Like, we have good, solid foundations of a good team. Squad. Yeah. I think it's missing what the U.S. has been missing for a long time. I mean, we pretended Josie Altidore was a scorer.
Since Brian McBride.
No, have we had I mean, I guess Deuce was a reliable goal scorer, but he was more of a second striker versus an actual striker. The argument has been, does anyone need a striker anymore? The answer is yes. Look at Germany. They got their striker. All of a sudden, their team transformed. It was like, we have a winger in Sane and a striker. He's going to be there. I think the thing to look for if you're an amateur or you're someone who doesn't watch the World Cup or watch soccer all the time, some of these positions that we talk about, a number 9 or a striker, it's more an activity, a role of what you do, not where you're playing. When we talk about a striker, we're talking about a guy who tries to stay within the width of the 18-yard box. When you're on defense, he's not defending. He's up in the middle of the pitch. You can kick it to him. He can hold on to it. He gives you, what does he need to hold up the ball for? 3 seconds, 2 seconds, tops.
And that
if you're lucky,
a lot of pressure.
And then able to make that pass out to the wide players who are usually free and then take off into the box. That's all he needs to do. The scoring is a bonus, frankly. And when you watch Harry Kane, we talk about him. The thing that makes Harry Kane so special is that he can take that ball off his chest, turn, and then make attacking passes.
Well, and he knows where Sterling or in the club level where Sonny or Kulusevski, he knows where they're going to be, right? And so he basically, don't think of it like he's Tom Brady out here dropping dimes in somebody's lap. He goes, Sonny's going that way, and he basically just leads him,
right?
And he lets this guy go get it.
Go get that thing. It's more like throwing a ball for a dog.
Yeah, right.
Although I shouldn't
Exactly.
say that with Sunny. There's a song for that.
It's okay. But yeah, I've absolved you of that. But the thing is that again, like I said in Group A, Iran only needs a draw to get through, and this plays into their hand quite nicely from what we've
Because
seen from
they
them.
have Queros, who's a shit housing fucking
So yes,
defensive
there's
coach.
that, but I think that their style is just so conducive to hitting teams on the break, and because they're good at that, right? We saw them hit England, we saw them hit Wales. So Wales they
Listen,
also
this is
dominated.
not by no means an easy game.
No. You let me amend. You absolutely need to be able to beat Iran to advance to the round of 16, or you don't belong there. But it
Right.
doesn't mean it's a pushover.
No,
right?
no. And I again, like I said, like we were talking about with the England game, the 0-0. I just think the performances matter. I think the U.S. To me, and I know maybe people think differently. I think the U.S. needs a good performance. If they lose a game, it's disappointing. But I think that if they play well and they lose on a penalty or they lose 1-1 or 1-0, I don't think it's the end of the world. Or they draw because they can't score. It's a non-scored draw because they don't have a finisher, but they just laid siege to Iran's goal the whole time, and Adams just broke up a bunch of breaks. I think that this is again another one of performance. This is a team on the rise. We're playing for 26. We're the second youngest team. I think Ghana are the youngest team in this World Cup. So I don't think we should feel it's the hope that gets you. I think that this is a gravy game. If Berhalter gets to the round of 16, that's an accomplishment.
No, I don't agree. I think you often in the coaching profession become a victim of your own success, and you just explained why they have to beat Iran. You can't get a result from England and get knocked
and then
out of the group.
Yeah, I hear you.
Right. So
yeah, the narrative will suck. It'll be like you can draw England and then you lose to Iran. What's wrong with you?
You dropped it, right? You bottled it. I think that there's a lot on the line here. I think that it's got a lot of 2010 Algeria vibes. Hoping to God we don't hit the post 4 fucking times like we did in that game.
That Algeria team was good because it was all French.
Yeah.
We would be remiss if we did not mention some of the controversies going on. There are 2 right now with the U.S. team. One is geopolitical outside of the pitch. One is on the pitch. The outside the pitch was apparently a social media person for the U.S. removed the crest of the Iranian flag in a post, which became a thing. That became a political as a means of supporting the political. I guess at this point it's a borderline rebellion going on in their country over the death of a young Kurdish woman and the hairdress stuff and just they're exacerbated with their theocratic country. I'm not talking about that. I don't know anything about it. It doesn't sound good. People are going to jail.
But some twit on Twitter was like, "Oh, I'm going to wade into the waters."
Yeah, I'm going to decide,
which is always a good idea.
Yeah, I'm going to decide to do that. And then the other one, and I don't know how real this is, but it involved Eric Winalda, who's always been controversial,
he's an asshole.
Always banging his teammates' wives of something like that. And Berhalter, they were probably teammates on the U.S. men's national team back in the day. I don't know that, but I'm guessing.
Yeah,
maybe they're different generations. And Gio Reyna. Remember in game 1, we heard from Berhalter that Gio Reyna wasn't ready and was injured. Then Gio Reyna said, "No, I'm 100%. I can play." Then there was another one where I think this is where Wijnaldum stepped in and said he was told to lie and didn't, or that Berhalter lied. Something to that effect. It doesn't seem like it's playing up, but it is something to monitor. I get the sense that Gio Reyna is probably just an 18-year-old and just fucked up. Maybe the coach said something to him and he didn't listen, or the other way around. They didn't communicate with each other and it just got bad signals, and now it becomes a thing for 15 minutes. I don't think it ruins anyone's career.
I think it's no, not at all. But I think it's from the source too. If you had some, writer from The Athletic breaking this story, then it's got legs and people are going to pay attention to it. There's an appetite to ignore Eric Wijnaldum at all costs.
He's
an asshole. So, he's like soccer Alex Jones. It's like, oh, what did he say now? Like, oh, fucking Christ. Enough with that. Get him off Twitter. Jesus.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. What are you feeling of the result? What are your feelings of the result? And then I feel
a good goal. I feel like a goal early, which Iran's got a great plan. until they get punched in the face. I got a penalty early.
Oh,
I think Pulisic nails it.
okay.
And then Iran, you have to come out of your shell now because now you're behind. You need that tying goal, and I think this is where I'm going to start to lose some hair because we saw it against Wales. You can come out, you can be dominant, and then if you slink back, I'm choosing optimism. I think we're going to get a second goal shortly after halftime. Then sit back. Okay, fine. Okay,
Yeah.
because Iran's not going to beat you for 2 if you're sitting back. Fine.
Yeah. I think a U.S. win. I mean, we're not jingoistic. I'm not a lunatic. I just think
I am.
the performances for the U.S. have been there, and I just think that eventually the bounces will go your way and you'll get a goal because they've been playing well. The Weah on the wing with Dest side of things has been pretty good. And then the other piece is these goalkeepers in these games are terrible. And the refereeing is so weird that it's got to bounce our direction eventually. That's just my thing. Then let's quickly do Wales. I have a take on Wales.
All right.
I mean, England, this is a bigger game for Wales and England. This is like blood rivalry. This is little brother, big brother, noogies, wedgies. This is a big game for England. I don't think for anyone else it is. But I think one thing to say about Wales have been awful in this tournament. Like the 2016 Wales that made it to the semifinals with all the Welsh people behind them is gone. I think Bale and Ramsey have been awful and actually hurt their team. And they're broken. I don't think they have any spirit left. It's weird. I kept on playing that weird Welsh song, and my optimism for them was based on intangibles. But if Bale is going to be a no-show and Ramsey is going to be a no-show, teams can't work hard enough to carry 2 guys. And that's where
I don't even know. I'm going to sound pro Spurs and anti Arsenal here, but I don't know that Bale has been effectively taken out of the game by an overwhelming of the midfield, right?
Yeah.
And so I never understood having Bale be on the wing for the national side. When you put him there for Real Madrid, great, because you have 10 other weapons on the field. But not having him in the 10 role, which I feel strongly about Pulisic, very similarly. I think you can push him away from the game just by having the fucking ball on the other side of the field. Right. Yeah. So it's easy to kind of not even mark him out of the game. You almost don't even have to pay attention to him if you're that dominant in midfield. And that's kind of what we've seen, Wales succumb to. So I'm sad for Gareth. I wish I was a little more sad that he didn't get the goal against us. But I'm not really all that concerned. I will say it is interesting. Now, I said 2-0, but if we have 3-0, and I don't know what this level of tiebreaker is, if U.S. wins 3-0 and Wales and England draw, or no, and if Wales win, 1-0 on a blood feud game, you've got England and USA tied on goal difference in points and results.
If U.S. win, they're on 5. Yes, the U.S. would have to really kick a lot of ass.
I think if it's goals against, then it would be the U.S. if they win 3-0.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see that happening. I think the bigger scare for England is if they draw and Iran win, then they finish second in the group, which would be bad.
Yep.
Because everything changes. You get a much different matchup. You get into a lot of trouble. So England will have their eye on that game, and they'll probably play like they're through and play a changed team. That'd be my guess. Hopefully.
I would think so too.
But again,
that's not a bad thing, though.
Southgate is a terrible coach, and he'll probably play his same 3 guys up front.
I wouldn't think so, but I don't. I know that you agree with me that. Oh no, okay, fine. We have to play Phil Foden. We have to play Jack Grealish. We have to play Marcus Rashford.
Oh, I know exactly.
So, I don't really not.
So I'm curious about that game because it's such a Premier League sort of heavy game. It's kind of where we are with our stuff. And then, yes, I just want to kind of jump around. Probably have to talk about Argentina and their matchup. They still have to win.
They've got probably one of the most, compelling groups left.
Yeah.
Aside from Spain and Germany being on opposite ends right
Actually,
now.
let me sidetrack. We should probably, this is an American-based podcast. Half our group is LA-based Mexican dudes. Mexico are terrible.
Well,
They're so defensive. I think
yeah,
they played well against Argentina and really put a lot of effort in. But I mean, I'm sure their newspapers are probably like, "Y donde Chicharito?" Right? They're probably looking for Chicharito right now because they
sure.
can't score. They
Mhm.
just didn't. Not only that, they're not even trying to score,
Yeah.
and it's just been, not great from Mexico. It'll be them not making it out of the group will be the first time in a long time, and I think that they're still in that space where they want to play past that fifth game, and they've never even made it to the fifth game, right?
Mhm.
They're kind of, and the Saudi Arabia team's not bad. They could easily beat Mexico, right? They already
Yep.
have a win. They beat Argentina. So right now, I mean, Mexico's looking like they're on the outside looking in. A win, they have to win. That would put them on 4. And then Poland, if they did, yeah, Argentina is a must win,
What
especially
has to happen is Mexico has to beat Saudi Arabia by more than one, most likely, and then Argentina's got to just beat the shit out of Poland, which is very possible, right? Like we could see them get loose. We thought we were going to see it against Saudi Arabia, right? They had a couple of goals come back from offside. So Argentina can put one on somebody. Poland looks awfully, awfully pedestrian, despite the fact that they're up in the group after 2 matches. Just don't foul Lewandowski in the fucking box and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, I mean,
I do want to stop on
scenario.
Poland. I mean, Chesney made 9 saves and a double save on a penalty. So, like, they won that game by luck. Like, they were getting their
Yes.
asses
Mhm.
kicked.
They have been one of the 2 teams I'm very down on after the 2 games so far, despite the fact that they have 4 points.
Hyper defensive. Yeah, I mean, they have the 4, but they were bad.
But yeah, so what'll end up happening here is for Mexico, you've got to win by multiple goals, which will give you 4 points. And then if Argentina, like I said, if you win by 2, that brings you back to even on goal difference. If Argentina win by 3, bang, you're through on goal difference.
And they could. I think Argentina is growing into this a little. I think what you saw in the second half against Mexico was they stopped with the Messi on the wing thing. I know he wants to be on that left side.
I
He wants
just
to
said
wander
about
out
Bale.
there. Yeah. But when once he was in the middle and sort of wandering and finding space, completely changed the way the attack. Like they didn't like all of a sudden take off and the whole thing worked, but he was freer, and when he turned, he was in a dangerous place already rather than having to get to a dangerous place.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, they have Messi. They always have a chance. They're still working hard. They're still playing well. They have young players that still come on and do things. The goal from the kid, Fernandez, I'm not sure if I got his name, but was really good. And, we move on. And then I think we should probably go into the moratorium from my friends from Canada who I blew it. I really believed in them.
Oh, no, they let you down.
They let me down. They really had Belgium on the ropes. That was their game to win. They felt good after it. They had it. It was all there for them. And they Alphonso Davies misses the penalty. There's a follow-up, and then they kind of never really get another shot. But Belgium did show that weakness was real, and they lost to Morocco and then imploded. They started attacking each other. KDB said, "Oh, we peaked in 2018. That was our shot. We got no shot." How do you say that before a game? What are you doing, dude?
Well,
I mean, I know.
Can you imagine if Canada, who I think we're all in agreement, were rightful winners against Belgium? If you had that statement after 2 Belgium losses, they're toast. Canada's on 3 with a shitty goal difference, with a chance to take out Morocco and take their spot, right? I keep saying there's only 3 games. There's so many variable outcomes. It's always seriously fine margins, right? Because if you could have gotten a goal off of Belgium, you probably could have gotten a couple more.
I know. Crazy.
And you don't have that bad of a goal difference. You've got 3 points, and you're taking on Morocco with your fate in your own hands, which is unfortunate for the Canadians. One thing on them, real quick. Their manager has been unbelievable. I think he's gone. I don't think he's going to stick around unless he very much wants to.
Canada's coach.
Yes.
Burton.
Yes, or unless he wants to, he's not going to be there for much of the next World Cup cycle, which is really fucking bad news for Canada. So
I think he does. I think he does, though. I
you
think
do?
so.
You think he's
I've
going to
heard
be a
it. I
cult
heard an
hero?
interview with him. He's a guy from Sunderland, an English immigrant. He had the women's team. He's the first coach ever to coach
Women and men, yeah.
women and men in the
Yeah.
World Cup. He's won medals with the female team, Sinclair, and that amazing Canadian team that won the medals in the Olympics. So very famous Canadian team. And then he took over for the whole thing. So he runs Football Canada.
Okay. So
Right. So he has that whole like that top down vision of like, oh, I know what's happening with the U14s. I know where the U16s are. I see the pipeline. Right. So he had the whole vision of it. So I think he's going to stick through it. He's already mentioned 26, 26, 26. He's all about 26. So I don't think he goes.
Yeah, they're hosting too.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think he
fair.
stays because I think for Canada and I'll check in with Super Dan Sormaz, my Canadian friend. I think for Canada, representative sports are everything. I mean, you know this from following hockey.
It
Canada
sure is.
and the Olympics, they really get behind their team. They're one of these good fans. They have that Sweden.
I don't know that
they
I
got
would
good
say that.
fans. They got good fans. I think they push.
don't care much for them.
Well,
But that's because I'm a hockey fan.
Right. Like leave that part out. But representative sports matter. What I'm saying is
Yes.
Herdman isn't going to leave.
They show up.
It's a prestigious job to be
Yeah.
the head of Canada versus like, what's he going to get? A top level championship side at best?
Yeah.
Like
That's
maybe
exactly
he'll
what
get
I was thinking.
he'll get the Sunderland job. Like
Right.
that might be something he wants. So
I had a thought and it went away.
I love the Croatia thing. What happened with Croatia, and I watched it happen. They were a little on the back foot. They're a little on the back foot. They're kind of playing. Modric is there, popping things around. And then somewhere in the middle of the game, Modric starts motioning to the players, and he starts pressing the Canadian defense. And then the whole team just starts pressing.
Fell apart.
And then they just start pressing Canada, and Canada just couldn't handle it. They fell apart. But it was on the field. It was Modric on the field, literally beginning the press. They're on the ball, and Modric runs like 30 yards to do the press, like just sprints. And then they start to go, and it starts to happen all the time. And I think my buddy Dan told me, he was like, oh, we have a terrible defense. And once Croatia figured that out, it was over. And so they did.
And it's funny because they got their goal early. It was the biggest criticism in the Belgium game. Croatia's a different animal. Didn't matter. They're
they are tough, man. They are tough.
They're comfortable.
And don't fuck with them, right? Like that's literally Herdman said, we're gonna fuck Croatia after the Belgian game. And Kramaric is like, don't tell me I'm not getting fucked. We're fucking you. So we're in this middle part, and we have a few more interesting games to go that we can talk about. We talked about Senegal, and there's some second round group games, and what happens with Serbia and Ghana and Uruguay, and we'll probably cover those more as the results come in on Friday. That'll be the end of the group stage. We'll probably have a final thing, but I do halfway through the tournament. Who has been your player of the tournament? I think people like Ener Valencia come to mind for Ecuador. I think of Tyler Adams for the USA. I think he's been a big player. Richarlison, is he a player of the tournament for his 2 goals against Brazil? I mean, we're only a few games in.
There's one very clear and obvious answer, and it's going to be the obvious answer is Kylian Mbappe, right?
Right.
But I like some of the other deeper shouts. I love Dani Olmo for Spain.
Mm-hmm.
You said Richarlison; he was high on my list as well. I like Adams. Hakim Ziyech, man, he's been really, really good for Morocco.
I mean, we can probably give Bruno Fernandes a shout. He's got 2 goals, 2 assists.
Yep.
So far for player of the tournament. I hate him, but he is a hell of a player.
I think that's probably the list. I think it's certainly Mbappe and Fernandes, probably, and everybody else. But I think that's probably the not so short list if you kind of came up with it, right? Maybe we're missing 1 or 2 players like a Modric. I think that's been pretty good. Who is the team that has or player or both? I have a both that has disappointed you the most.
Now, even though I called it, I think Belgium, they're number 2 ranked in the world. They're terrible. They're falling apart. They're infighting, and KDB's been bad. And not only that, he vocally led
shit
to half of the problems, saying his defense is too old. So as much as I did call it, I think that narrative wise, this is the end of Belgium as we know it.
Yeah.
I think Martinez gets fired.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
please.
Vertonghen and Alderweireld probably never play again. I think KDB might be persona non grata in the lowlands of Genk after he does, and I hope it doesn't carry to City. Manny will be happy, but it would suck if he mopes around for the next 3 weeks. So that would be one. And then
Let
I
him
think
hope for
what
the next
happens
3
with this
weeks. He'll come
Argentina
back.
game, if they lose, that they're gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine
I mean, that
is
is pressure.
see, it is and it's not. I think that they'll be okay. I'll give you two. Kai Havertz and Germany. However, with that said, and I did want to go into this game further, so this works. They're going to qualify. They're going to beat Costa Rica probably by a touchdown. It's actually interesting, right? Like they kind of got the old 1-2 from Japan, but then Costa Rica saved Germany's ass, sort of.
Absolutely.
Because effectively then you would have Japan on 6 points. Could you imagine that? After two games.
The old Axis getting one back.
And you'd be fighting against Spain, who has a goal difference of 7. So so you'd be toast. So that they're going to thank Costa Rica by thumping the living fuck out of them. I believe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They play Thursday, and they're in the late spot. That's going to get ugly. So they have been disappointing so far. I am actually not concerned about Germany at all. If you have the opportunity to bet on Germany to qualify, do it, please. Thank me later. And then the one that really has upset me, they played today, Darwin Nunez and Uruguay. Nunez, of Liverpool fame, shoots first, ask questions later kind of guy. And he has really, really been kind of a ghost. And Uruguay today really let me down. They're the team that I want to pull for and all that stuff. You mentioned we were talking about it all during the episode. Excuse me, during the game.
The episode. It's actually more of the episode. This episode of the World Cup.
Right.
Portugal, Uruguay.
This week on in the World Cup. But yeah, they just played so passive in the first half against Portugal. They became this self-fulfilling prophecy. And annoyingly, as soon as Portugal went up, here comes the press for Uruguay. Bentancur was all over the place. They were so good.
But I have to give Portugal's coach a credit. The triple change, taking off the whole, taking out Ronaldo and a couple other guys and changing it up because Portugal has depth.
I've said about Rafael Leao.
Yeah. And they and it stemmed the tide, sort of changed the game. And
I've never seen Bentancur do this. He is our rock at Tottenham. He missed that chance. Fine. Like that, whatever that happens. But he did kind of like a lung busting run on the touchline and the near side. And he had nobody to help him. And he sort of like, you could see he was knackered for the rest of the match after that. He was
one
really
run
struggling.
Took him out.
Well, no, I mean, he was playing and going everywhere, but like he ran like 50 yards and he's like, holy shit, I shouldn't have done that. And he was just kind of wobbly the rest of the match. Sort of interesting there. But yeah, that's certainly my team that I had very high hopes for, who have disappointed me. And yet they sit with a chance to beat Ghana and go through. So all hope is still there.
If Korea beat Portugal,
it goes down to goal difference then.
Yeah. So, but this is a classic rematch, Uruguay-Ghana of the round of 16, 2010.
That's correct.
That's the
Luis Suarez hand of not God.
The opposite of the hand of the devil. The opposite.
Yeah, right. Which, by the way, worked, right?
Yeah, because he missed the penalty.
Awesome. That was awesome. That was such a great moment.
Yeah, that was by the way, that 2010 World Cup is underrated. It was really good.
It was a really good one. Good one.
But that's rad. I mean, I think you called it on the group of death. That group H has been tricky, although Portugal got it done. It still looks like a fight. There are some fun friends that need a lot of help that we want to see go through. I think Uruguay and Serbia still need a lot of work. Mm-hmm. We know Belgium may still get through easily, honestly.
Sure.
In a weird way, even though they're shit, they could beat Croatia. Croatia is not perfect. And then, I do want to give a shout out to, my favorite team that surprised me the most. We mentioned them earlier, and there's probably a couple, but I think Ecuador has been a sort of effervescent team of the tournament kind of team that just very exciting, fought, brought themselves back, look like they have a way to play, which is always unusual, especially in these tournaments. Teams are just lost and kind of not really finding a way forward. So I'm really happy with them. And then I think this has been an African tournament in terms of CAF. Saudi Arabia has been very good. Morocco's been very good.
Yeah.
Cameroon has a good
Senegal's
win.
right there.
Ghana's got a good win. So that whole Senegal, there's a bit of a narrative on the rise of Africa. I think that there is an ancillary piece of, hey, this is in Qatar. Qatar's the Middle East, but it's the Muslim countries. Africa's got strong ties to Muslim countries. I think this feels like home games for them. I think that their crowds have been. Yeah, I think that there's a good feeling of lifting all boats, of like, this is our time, this is our World Cup, this is, because they're the people who voted for Qatar to be in that World Cup.
Even though that's right.
There is corruption, there is a bit of that. It is a little bit of a thumb in the eye to Europe, right? Like, we fucking count. We're putting this World Cup in Qatar. Go fuck yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think it was more about the enormous bags of cash that ended up under all their seats.
But part of it is political, right? Because
I think
ultimately, Sepp Blatter, if we go back and sort of relitigate, he did still want it in the U.S., and he was shocked that it was in Qatar, because Qatar did the work in Africa to get AF to be on board with them, right?
Yeah, no, that's true. I'd still think it was much more about the cash and not the players playing in these games.
Well, listen, it's Africa. I mean, there's some corruption, just a little bit,
just a tad,
just a tad.
But
well,
yeah,
what do we? I have one more superlative.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot what it was. God damn it. Was there any team that was more excited, that you've been excited by or pleased by, or sort of like I've been feeling about Ecuador? Is there a team that
the United States? The United States.
Really? Okay, that's a good one.
I think we're already ruining the second half against Wales, but that, like you said, that's a result against England. It wasn't quite USA wins 1-1 back in 2010, but for my money, it was a better team performance than that game. Against a much, much better England team than that game.
We're only in those games because Southgate is terrible. And let me tell you, he's terrible. Anecdotally, other countries, pundits, the Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, are literally going, that team is good, they have a shit coach.
Okay, I think that is half true. I think the other half truth here is that the U.S. team defends well and finds ways to be pesky and get into dangerous areas. I think Weah is creating a problem for their fullbacks.
Guys have made themselves some money. I mean, I think I'm not even being funny. Like, Tyler Adams is just going to be one of those guys. So I think it's important to sort of get out of the U.S.
Oh,
bubble.
That's who do you? If it's Tyler Adams, then fine. But like, who is the most expensive player? Who's the biggest
gotten himself
value?
Some money?
Yes. Or
Tyler Adams is definitely the. I just earned my team a lot of money player. I mean, I can't think of anyone else. McKennie, maybe he can get himself out of Juve, but I think he's still
already
injured.
a $40 million guy.
Falkrug from Werder Bremen, going from just scoring a goal for Germany. All of a sudden, he's a number 9. I'm sure Bayern Munich could be like, well, we have to buy him now. We only have Choupo-Moting up front. Might as well buy this.
Yeah.
I mean, they can probably get him for nothing.
I've got 2. Let me just get to the second one.
I mean, they're already stars.
Yes. Okay.
Gavi.
So Cody Gakpo.
Yes.
From Netherlands. And yeah, I mean, take your pick on Spain, right? I said Olmo already, but I mean, he was a guy, I think, in the Euros, maybe.
They were already good.
But he was a radar guy. Like I remember Spurs being sort of linked to him the same way that they were linked to Brian Heel. And I like Brian Heel a lot, but I would have rather Dani Olmo. And Gavi as well.
But who scored the goal on the outside of the boot in the volley? Was it Gavi or Pedri?
I think it was Pedri. I can't honestly remember, but
dude, that goal is the one that I just like threw myself on the ground. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was one of those, like, yeah, they scored 6, but 7 goals. But I mean,
goal of the tournament, Richarlison, right?
No, I think it's the volley up 6,
really?
The 7th goal. It's incredible. Like, just the skill, the whole, because overhead kicks look really good, but they're kind of, it really means that you had time to do all that.
Yeah.
But this Gavi thing, he comes flying in outside of the boot top bins. I really like it a lot.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Probably harder to do, even though the
Yes,
Latrellison
definitely.
one is
And
cooler.
And I will give some love to Casemiro's goal today, the winner today. Really, really nice. Did
And
get
then
a bit of a
couple.
deflection to make it look cooler.
I apologize for some of these players' names, but the goals that Saudi Arabia scored versus Argentina were outside the box, but they all start with Al, and I don't feel like looking up
And on the same plane,
which Al they are.
On the same plane, Iran's winner against Wales, very, very nicely taken.
Yeah, and then it was a chip by Kubar, I think in the game. There's been good goals.
There
have all
been
second
really
half,
goals.
all of them late. I'm glad that we're not like going into. We didn't go deep into that handball. Anyway, handball's a mess. VAR sucks. I want it to die along with my soul.
Let's see what else can we do.
We'll check in. We'll check in on Friday, and then we'll know what the next rounds are.
Mm-hmm. And then we will have pretty much a good pathway for the whole final because there's no reseeding after that, right? So,
nope.
Yeah, we are at the halfway point, friends, which means two things. It's about to get really, really crazy and really, really weird, and we're halfway back to the Premier League season. Yeah, that's it, man. Let's get out of here. All right.
That was the Squeaky Bum Time podcast with Mike Salerno and Laurent Cortines. We are the football wing of the Chop Sports Network, and we are friends of Fan Hub in the UK, which I don't know what they're doing during the World Cup. We record on Tuesdays and Fridays, so be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if you're listening on Apple or wherever you do, please rate and review the show so that you can help us. Thank you. Go USA.